Stress is just a nervous system response to any kind of sense of danger in our environment and in our own minds. But it doesn't feel good to be going through life feeling stressed all the time, especially if you're not being continuously chased by a lion or a bear, or there's the imminent threat of an earthquake or a tsunami. Those are actual things to be stressed about because our existence is in danger when we are facing those kinds of threats. But for most of us, we're going through our days feeling stressed about little things that are coming up throughout the day that are kind of just building up and getting stuck in there. And then we sort of feel this overall sense of stress or anxiety or tension or overwhelm. And then we need to go home at the end of the day and just completely turn off by scrolling or binge watching or online shopping or overeating because we're trying to get ourselves more into a calm, relaxed, regulated state in order to compensate from all those little stressful things throughout the day. But the things we end up doing to get ourselves into that more relaxed state might give us a bit of temporary relief, but it's not actually changing our stress levels throughout the day. It's not actually changing how we're feeling throughout the day. And usually the things that we do to cope with that, to try to rest and relax, end up creating other issues for ourselves that then even add to the stress. So what do we do instead? Well, today I'm going to talk about how to address those little stressors that are coming up throughout your day that you might not even notice are causing you stress, and calming yourself at these regular intervals throughout your day is not only going to help you feel more calm and relaxed in the moment, but it's also going to help you create a more relaxed and calm base level of your nervous system. So you're just going to be feeling more relaxed, more calm, more at ease in general. But first, if you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below. If you're back again, always good to have you. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, a speaker, an author, and the creator of my membership community, where we are taking this work to the next level in the Shift Society. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. I help heart-centered humans think better, feel better, show up better, and have better so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. So, as I mentioned, life is full of things. It's full of big stressors like moves or job changes or relationship changes or taking on a big new challenge or being given some kind of extra responsibility, dealing with family relationships, dealing with issues with our partners or our friends. Like there's these bigger stresses that are coming up, these bigger conflicts within ourselves and outside in our environment. These things that we need to adapt to, adjust to, figure out. Those ones are a lot more obvious, and we can kind of see where these big stressors are in our lives, and we kind of know, for the most part, what we need to do to address them, to help ourselves deal with them. But what about those little things throughout your day that you might not even be aware of? But they're these little stressors that are popping up pretty regularly throughout your day and are creating little bits of stress, little bits of anxiety, little bits of overwhelm, little bits of worry. And they're adding up and they're compounding into a bigger sense of stress or anxiety or worry or overwhelm overall. And you're just existing in this higher stressed state. And maybe you don't have big stressors in your life and you're like, I don't know why I'm so tense. I don't know why I feel overwhelmed. I don't know why I kind of exist in this state of anxiety. Nothing major is going on in my life, and I am guessing that it is because of these little stressors that are not being dealt with. And then we have these little stressors, we get stressed out about them, and then we just sort of blow over it, and we're busy and we can't deal with these little things and we don't even notice that they're happening. And then another one happens, and then something else is going on. We don't have time to deal with it. And meanwhile, these are compounding and becoming something a whole lot bigger that we're carrying around. So it can be little things like getting an email of your boss asking you to do an extra thing before the end of the day. It can be an invitation from your friend to do something on the weekend, even though you already have a lot going on the weekend. It can be someone asking you for something when you're in the middle of a task that you're focused on and you're trying to switch your attention to that thing, even though you find it kind of jarring. It can be feeling like you have this to-do list that you need to get done and you don't know when you're going to have enough time to do it. It could be that you're feeling this underlying pressure that you need to have it all figured out, that you need to always know what you're doing, that you need to have a clear path forward in your life, that you need to be a good friend, a good mother, a good father, a good parent, and you don't want to disappoint anyone. Just these little things that are coming up within you and outside of you throughout your day that are compounding. So what we need to do first is we need to start noticing these little micro-stressors throughout our day, and we need to address them and deal with them. Now, because you probably haven't really been noticing them, it's going to take a little bit more work to start to notice when they are showing up. And I promise you that is going to be the hardest part of this work. So you can do this in a couple different ways. You can do it with some action cues throughout your day, or you can set a timer. So what we want to do is we want to be checking in with ourselves at regular intervals throughout the day and asking ourselves, how am I feeling right now? What tension am I hanging on to? What stress is feeling balled up inside? What do I have going on that is feeling like more than enough right now? So maybe every time you go to pick up your phone, you check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Am I carrying any tension in my body? Am I feeling stressed or overwhelmed about any little things that I feel like I need to get done, that I need to take care of, parts of myself that I feel like I need to be, stuff that I need to have dealt with? So we can do this with these little behavioral cues. It could look something like every time you go to pick up your phone, you just use that as a cue to check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling calm, relaxed, regulated, or am I feeling tense, stressed, anxious, overwhelmed? It could be every time you go to the bathroom, you do that same thing and check in with yourself. Or if that's not going to be something that's going to be as easy for you to do, then you can set a timer. And I would highly recommend being very intentional about these check-ins with yourself at regular intervals throughout your day for at least a week. So setting a timer for every 20 minutes, it goes off, and that's your cue to take a breath and check in with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Am I carrying any extra tension or stress, or anxiety, or overwhelm? Just using those cues. And that's going to get you better at noticing what that tension, what that stress feels like in your body, in your nervous system. And after you get more used to noticing what that feels like, then you're going to practice grounding and regulating yourself when you notice those bits of tension showing up. You can just, in that moment, regulate your nervous system by taking a big, deep diaphragmatic breath, expanding your diaphragm. Just imagine your ribs expanding and then exhaling. You can do that through yawning. Yawning is another way to relax our nervous system. Another way to do it is, instead of just a deep breath, focus on exhaling fully and imagining yourself just opening and softening your face, your shoulders, your body. And so what you're doing is you are overriding that stress response, that physical stress response, with a physical grounding, restful, relaxing, calming response. And then the next thing from there is to just give yourself some quick and reassuring reminders, letting yourself know, in this moment, I'm okay. Nothing has gone terribly wrong. I can handle this. I am safe. Because when we're going into that heightened nervous system response, that stress response, your body kind of has this perception that something has gone wrong, that something is threatening, that something is dangerous. But your coworker bursting into your office to ask you to get this thing done quickly, or getting invited to another thing on the weekend when you already have a full schedule, or trying not to disappoint someone that has asked something from you, whatever that stressor is, after you have taken that moment to physically calm yourself and ground yourself using some of those grounding statements. And the other thing from there that's really, really helpful is not just those grounding statements, but those grounding reminders. Saying to yourself something like, I don't have to solve this now. I don't have to figure this out now. I don't have to deal with this now. I can take a step back and do this one step at a time. I can be gentle with myself. I can go at my own pace. I don't need to do it all, and I don't need to do it all immediately. I don't have to have the answer. I don't have to know the exact next step. Whatever that is for you. And I remember when I first started to do work to regulate my own nervous system, my go-to was a big, deep breath. And apparently it was quite an audible deep breath, because I remember being at this workshop and I was sitting in the audience of the presenter who was presenting on this topic. And the presenter was presenting a lot of really good stuff, a lot of really interesting stuff, but it was a lot of stuff. And I noticed myself getting tensed and overwhelmed because I was trying to take everything in that they were teaching and that they were saying. And I was trying to have it all figured out and I was trying to remember it all. And I could notice at that moment that I was starting to feel tense. I could notice that in my body, that my shoulders were going up, my face was feeling tense, my breath was getting shorter. There was this flipping feeling in my stomach. There's this kind of like hotness coming over my head. You know the feeling when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or anxious. And that was my cue to ground myself. That was my cue to take a big, deep breath. And apparently at that time, my big deep breaths were very audible, because I remember the people that were sitting near me looking at me and being like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Because I would have this deep breath that sounded like, and it would be that loud, and it would almost sound like I was in this terrible state of distress, which I wasn't. I was just feeling tense because I was unconsciously putting all these expectations on myself to have it all figured out and know it all, which wasn't helpful. And that was putting me into that state of stress. And so I had to just reassure them like, no, I'm okay. I'm just soothing myself. I'm just grounding myself. And then from there, I would remind myself and bring in one of those grounding reminders and say to myself, you don't have to have this all figured out right now. You don't have to remember everything. You don't have to take this all in and have it all solved and resolved in this moment. You don't even have to understand it all in this moment. And giving myself those reminders really helped me to calm down and take in from that presentation in a more calm and relaxed state. So essentially, if you find yourself going through most days feeling tense, feeling stressed, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, and that's just sort of that underlying feeling, even though you can't identify exactly one or two big stressors, it is because you have created an anxious, stressed, overwhelmed state by these little stressors coming in and not being addressed, not being dealt with, and just compounding one on top of the other, which then creates this baseline of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. So we are going to flip that, and we are going to create a new default by addressing these little stressors, by calming and regulating, doing the opposite of what our nervous system wants to do, which is become stressed, become tense, become tight. We're going to do the opposite, and we are going to create calm and open and soft. And the more we do that, the more those neural pathways in our brains get laid, the more the parasympathetic nervous system comes in and creates that state of calm, the more our brain gets used to responding in a calm and grounded way when these little things come up. And not only are we able to feel more calm and grounded and relaxed and present when these little stressors come up, we create that default of calm, grounded, relaxed self overall. Another thing that's going to really kickstart your nervous system into going through your day in a more calm, relaxed state is to start your day with a short mindfulness exercise or a meditation. Starting things off in a regulated state, it's going to almost kind of help you to go through that first little part of your day in a more calm state, and you're not going to get quite as worked up. You're not going to feel quite as overwhelmed or stressed by things because you're coming into your day more calm and grounded to start. I have a mindfulness exercise that is going to help you do exactly this. It's my 10-minute guided mindfulness exercise. It's free, it's for you, it's linked up in the description below, and try it. Try it for a few days. See what happens when you start your day with this exercise, and then also practicing these grounding and regulating skills and practices throughout your day with that timer or those behavioral cues to start, and then after starting to get more tuned into yourself and doing it in these small ways when these small stressors come up throughout your day. Grab that 10-minute mindfulness exercise, and as always, take good care of yourself, take good care of those around you. Bye for now.